Have you ever encountered a rude person and found yourself unsure of how to respond? Maybe you wanted to lash out, or perhaps you tried to ignore it, but nothing felt quite right. Well, in today's video, we're diving into how you can handle rude people with the power of Stoicism and leave them speechless in the process. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." Stoic philosophy teaches us that while we can't control how others act, we always have the power to choose how we respond. In this video, you'll learn how to stay calm, set boundaries, and even use silence as a powerful tool to disarm rude people. If you're tired of feeling provoked or reactive, and you want to master the art of responding with grace and strength, make sure to stick around. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to keep up with more Stoic wisdom. Let's dive into how Stoicism can change the way you handle rude people, leaving them speechless and you stronger than ever. Number 1, remain calm and unbothered. There's a rare strength in keeping your composure when everything around you begs for a reaction. In today's world, where emotions often run high and tempers flare easily, calmness is often mistaken for weakness. But the truth is, staying unbothered is a conscious act of self-mastery. When someone is rude to you, they're not just showing disrespect, they're trying to hand you their chaos. The power lies in whether or not you accept it. Have you ever been in a situation where someone was openly rude and everyone just expected you to snap back? I remember standing in a crowded government office one hot afternoon, tired from hours of waiting. Just when it was my turn, a man barged in front of me, yelling at the clerk like he owned the place. I felt anger surge, but I paused. I didn't speak. I just stood there watching. People looked at me, expecting a scene, but I refused to give him that satisfaction. Slowly, his shouting became awkward. He realized no one was entertained. The clerk called me forward with a quiet nod of respect. That moment taught me that peace is louder than rage. Reacting to every insult or offense is exhausting. It gives away your power. When you stay calm, you show others that your mood, your mindset, and your energy are not controlled by anyone else. That is true strength. Rude people feed off emotional responses. Your frustration is their fuel. Take it away, and you leave them speechless. Stoic philosophy reminds us that it's not the event itself that upsets us, but our interpretation of it. You get to choose what enters your emotional space. Choosing not to react doesn't mean you're passive. It means you're in control. It means you've decided not to let someone else decide your day's direction. Remaining calm also changes the environment around you. People begin to treat you differently when they realize you don't respond to pettiness. You raise the level of every room you walk into, not through dominance, but through example. Your calmness becomes the standard, and others adjust to your energy, not the other way around. This doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect. It means you respond with intention, not impulse. Sometimes the most powerful answer is a raised eyebrow, a small smile, or complete silence. The absence of drama is often more impactful than any clever comeback. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember, not every action deserves a reaction. Protect your peace like it's gold, because it is. Remain calm, stay unbothered, and watch how quickly rudeness loses its power when it has no place to land. Number 2, respond with silence. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where someone was rude and all you wanted to do was snap back? It's tempting, isn't it? The urge to respond to someone's harsh words was something equally cutting. But what if the best response you could give was actually no response at all? Responding with silence might seem counterintuitive, but it's one of the most powerful ways to handle rudeness. It's not about avoiding conflict or being passive. It's about taking control of the situation and allowing the other person's words to fall flat. I learned the power of silence during an uncomfortable encounter with a colleague who constantly made cutting remarks during meetings. One day they made a sarcastic comment aimed at me in front of the entire group. Normally I would have fired back with a quick, witty response to defend myself, but something inside me told me to pause. Instead of reacting, I remained silent. I simply looked at them, not out of anger, but with quiet awareness. The moment stretched on, and I could feel the tension building as everyone around us waited for my response. But I didn't give them what they expected. The room grew uncomfortable, and the sarcastic remark that once held power began to lose its sting. Eventually, the conversation moved on, and no one even remembered the comment. Silence is a subtle but powerful way of disarming rudeness. When we stay quiet, we don't give the other person the reaction they're looking for. They expect a confrontation, a rebuttal, or even a defense. But when we withhold our words, we leave them with no ammunition. It's like taking the power away from their negativity and making them question their behavior. In those moments, silence is louder than any words you could say. The Stoics taught that we should only speak when it improves upon silence. By choosing silence in the face of rudeness, you allow the other person's actions to speak for themselves. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to justify your feelings. You simply let their words hang in the air, and in doing so, you regain control of the situation. When you respond with silence, you also give yourself time to reflect. Often, when we react impulsively to someone's rudeness, we regret what we said later. Silence allows you to avoid that trap. It gives you a moment to regain your composure, to understand your emotions, and to decide if a response is even necessary. It's an act of emotional discipline, one that not only protects your peace but also prevents you from being pulled into unnecessary drama. Moreover, silence creates space for growth. It shows that you value your peace more than winning an argument. When you remain quiet, you let the other person's words fall away, and you don't allow them to disturb your inner peace. In that space, you find freedom. Freedom from the need to defend yourself. Freedom from the need to engage in a back and forth that ultimately won't matter. You rise above it. When you choose silence, you also allow the situation to reveal its true nature. People who use rudeness to provoke or control often rely on your reaction to sustain the exchange. But by staying silent, you disrupt their usual pattern. It forces them to confront their own behavior, often making them feel self-conscious or guilty. What they once thought was an easy way to get under your skin becomes an uncomfortable reminder that their negativity has no power over you. This subtle shift can even make them think twice before being rude again in the future. In many cases, responding with silence is not about avoiding the issue entirely, but about choosing the right moment to address it. The best time to speak is when you've calmed your mind and can respond thoughtfully, not when emotions are running high. By waiting for the right moment, you avoid saying something you might regret. In the end, silence can be an invitation to a deeper conversation later, one that allows you to address the issue with clarity and composure, rather than letting it escalate in the heat of the moment. Lastly, silence often leaves people speechless because it's unexpected. They're used to engaging in conflict, in stirring up drama, but when you choose not to react, you stop them in their tracks. It's a powerful way of signaling that you will not be controlled by their negativity, and that often speaks louder than any words you could have said. Number 3, ask thoughtful, disarming questions. Imagine you're in the middle of a conversation with someone who's being rude, and you're feeling the urge to react. You could respond with a sharp retort, or you could use a strategy that is often more effective. Ask a thoughtful, disarming question. When someone is being rude or aggressive, their words are often intended to provoke a reaction. But by responding with a calm, probing question, you take control of the situation and shift the dynamic in your favor. A famous example of using thoughtful, disarming questions comes from Socrates, the ancient Greek philosopher. Socrates was known for his method of teaching and engaging with others through questions rather than giving direct answers. This technique, now known as the Socratic method, involved asking questions that encouraged deep thinking and self-reflection. When confronted with criticism or challenging ideas, Socrates would ask probing questions that not only diffused tension, but also made his interlocutors reconsider their assumptions. For example, during one of his public debates, a critic accused him of corrupting the youth of Athens. Instead of defending himself or becoming defensive, Socrates calmly asked, "What do you mean by corrupting the youth? And how do you define what is truly beneficial for them?" His disarming questions forced the critic to think critically about the accusation, ultimately leading the debate away from personal attacks and towards a more thoughtful discussion on ethics and morality. Socrates' use of thoughtful questions was an incredibly effective way to handle confrontations. By not responding with anger or force, he invited his critics to explore their own ideas and, in many cases, made them question their beliefs. This approach not only protected his own peace of mind, but also shifted the conversation to a more constructive direction. His method shows the power of asking the right questions in situations where emotions are running high, as it can lead to deeper understanding and resolve conflict without escalating it. Asking thoughtful questions, especially when someone is being rude, serves two purposes. First, it disarms the situation. It requires the rude person to think, to reflect on what they said, and perhaps even realize the impact of their words. Instead of continuing down a path of conflict, you are inviting them into a more meaningful dialogue. Secondly, thoughtful questions create a pause, giving both you and the other person time to think before things escalate. It's a powerful way of slowing down an emotional conversation and preventing things from getting out of hand. There's also an element of curiosity involved in asking questions. When someone is rude, it's easy to assume they're just being mean-spirited. But by asking a question, you're showing that you're willing to understand their perspective, even if their approach was flawed. This takes away the power of their insult and shifts the conversation from a conflict to a chance for mutual understanding. It turns a potentially heated exchange into an opportunity for growth and reflection for both parties. Moreover, disarming questions demonstrate confidence and emotional intelligence. Instead of reacting impulsively, you are taking control of your emotional state. You're not allowing the other person to drag you into their drama. Instead, you're showing them that you can handle the situation with grace and thoughtfulness. A well-asked question can sometimes be more powerful than any argument because it forces the other person to stop and consider their actions. Even when the other person doesn't respond as thoughtfully as you'd hope, your question still communicates something important. It shows that you refuse to be drawn into negativity, that you have a higher standard for communication, and that you value respect over conflict. Sometimes the mere act of posing a calm, thoughtful question can make the rude person reflect on their own behavior and may even lead to an apology or a change in attitude. In essence, when someone is being rude, asking thoughtful, disarming questions gives you the upper hand. It keeps you in control of the situation and allows you to manage it with poise and wisdom. Rather than matching rudeness with rudeness, you offer an invitation for understanding, diffusing the tension and leaving the other person with a lot to think about. Number 4, kill with kindness. Picture this. You're at a crowded coffee shop and someone ahead of you in line is loudly complaining about the service. They're being rude to the barista, making snide remarks, and clearly upsetting everyone around them. Most people are either rolling their eyes or trying to ignore the scene. But then, you, quietly and calmly, offer the barista a friendly smile and say, "Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your service." That simple act of kindness, in the face of someone else's rudeness, often leaves people speechless. It's a moment that shifts the atmosphere, leaving the rude person with nothing more to say. When you kill with kindness, you're not merely being polite, you're using a powerful tool to disarm negativity. Responding with kindness in the face of rudeness is a way of showing that you are in control of your own emotions and that no one else's behavior will determine your mood. It's a gentle reminder that kindness is a stronger force than anger or resentment. Instead of matching rudeness with rudeness, kindness takes the high road. The rude person might expect you to get defensive or snap back, but by responding with warmth and compassion, you leave them with nowhere to go. I remember a time when a colleague of mine was particularly difficult to work with. He would often belittle others, making demeaning remarks in meetings. One day, after a particularly sharp comment aimed at me, I simply responded with, "I really value your input on this project." His expression shifted. He was clearly thrown off by my unexpected response. Instead of escalating the tension, my kindness diffused it. He became quieter, more respectful, and the conversation moved forward without further conflict. What had been a moment of potential confrontation was instead transformed into an opportunity to maintain peace and mutual respect. The principle behind killing with kindness is rooted in the idea that kindness is not a weakness, it's a sign of strength. It takes more emotional control to respond kindly to rudeness than it does to retaliate. When we respond with kindness, we show that we are emotionally grounded and capable of rising above petty negativity. It also has a ripple effect, creating a more positive environment around us, which can influence others to act similarly. Moreover, kindness often leaves rude individuals feeling uncomfortable. They're used to provoking a reaction, to seeing someone upset, but your kind response challenges that dynamic. It forces them to reconsider their actions. In some cases, it even leads them to apologize or rethink their approach in future interactions. Kindness not only creates peace in the moment, but it also plants the seeds for positive change. It's important to note that killing with kindness doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. It's about choosing to rise above the situation and not giving in to the negativity. You can still stand your ground and set boundaries while being kind. Kindness doesn't mean passivity. It means responding to negativity in a way that shows confidence, grace, and strength. In the end, responding to rudeness with kindness is one of the most powerful ways to leave someone speechless. It's a reminder that kindness, far from being a simple or weak response, is a powerful force that can change the course of any interaction. By choosing to be kind, you not only protect your peace, but you also create a space for more meaningful and positive exchanges with others. Number 5, set boundaries firmly but respectfully. Setting boundaries firmly but respectfully is one of the most effective ways to handle rude people without losing your composure. Imagine you're dealing with someone who consistently oversteps their limits, speaking to you in a condescending manner or making rude remarks. It's easy to get upset or try to argue back, but the real power lies in calmly asserting your boundaries. By clearly stating what is acceptable and what is not, you not only protect your peace, but also communicate that you value yourself enough to not tolerate disrespect. When you set boundaries, it's important to remain calm and composed, as this shows that you are confident and in control. You don't have to shout or be aggressive. Instead, be assertive and clear about what behavior is not acceptable. By doing so, you prevent the situation from escalating and send the message that you won't be drawn into negativity. Setting boundaries also prevents you from internalizing the rude behavior and allows you to move on without it affecting your peace of mind. A great example of setting boundaries firmly yet respectfully comes from the life of Maya Angelou, the celebrated poet, author, and civil rights activist. Angelou encountered many personal and professional challenges, including racism and sexism, but she always stood firm in maintaining her boundaries, ensuring that others respected her dignity. One particular instance took place during her time as a part-time lecturer at a university. A colleague began making inappropriate and disrespectful comments toward her, testing her patience. Instead of reacting with anger or allowing the comments to slide, Angelou chose to address the situation directly. She calmly yet assertively informed her colleague that she expected to be treated with respect, both in professional and personal interactions. She made it clear that such behavior was unacceptable and that she would not tolerate it. Through this firm yet respectful response, Angelou reinforced her boundaries without escalating the situation. Angelou's response illustrates the power of setting boundaries in a way that upholds your self-respect while maintaining civility. By clearly stating her limits, she sent a message that she valued herself and expected the same from others, without compromising her ability to engage thoughtfully. Her example teaches us that boundaries are essential for protecting our well-being, and we can set them respectfully without creating unnecessary conflict. Setting boundaries also protects your emotional well-being in the long run. When you consistently allow others to treat you poorly without intervening, you risk building up resentment and stress. On the other hand, by regularly reinforcing boundaries, you show others that you take your own mental health seriously. It encourages healthier interactions and sets the standard for how you expect to be treated moving forward. Over time, people will come to respect your boundaries and think twice before crossing them. It's crucial to remember that setting boundaries is not selfish. It's a sign of self-respect. You don't have to tolerate rude behavior just to keep the peace or avoid confrontation. In fact, standing firm in your boundaries can lead to more respectful and productive relationships. It might take some practice, but the more you assert your boundaries with kindness and clarity, the easier it will be to handle difficult people in the future without compromising your peace. Additionally, setting boundaries helps you regain control in situations where others may attempt to take advantage of your kindness or patience. For example, a person might try to dominate a conversation or demand excessive time and attention. By setting clear boundaries such as saying, "I only have a few minutes to discuss this," or "Let's continue this conversation another time," you ensure that the interaction remains respectful of your time and energy. Over time, this practice teaches others to recognize your limits, ensuring that your personal space and resources are respected. Finally, setting boundaries doesn't mean you have to sever relationships with rude people or cut them off entirely. Instead, it's about finding a balance that allows you to maintain your dignity while still engaging with others. If someone continually crosses your boundaries despite your efforts to assert them, it might be a sign that the relationship needs to be reevaluated. By setting healthy boundaries, you can maintain relationships that are based on mutual respect and understanding, rather than feeling trapped or disrespected. Number 6, don't take it personally. One of the most powerful ways to handle rude people is to remember that their behavior is a reflection of them, not of you. When someone is rude, it's easy to internalize their words or actions, but doing so only gives them more power over your emotions. Imagine being in a situation where a person is rude to you out of nowhere, perhaps because of stress or their own personal issues. In such moments, it's essential to remind yourself that their behavior speaks more about their inner world than about who you are. Their words or actions are not a personal attack. They are simply a manifestation of their frustration or insecurities. The key to not taking rudeness personally is understanding that it often has little to do with you as an individual. People may be rude because of their own unresolved issues, whether it's stress, insecurity, or something that's going on in their life. By recognizing this, you can stop yourself from absorbing the negativity and instead choose to not let it affect you. You maintain your emotional distance and keep your peace intact. I remember a real-life experience where I was at a grocery store, and a person in front of me was extremely rude to the cashier over a minor mistake. At first, I felt a sense of discomfort, wondering if I would be the next target. But then I paused and reminded myself that their frustration wasn't about me. It was clear that they were carrying something else, perhaps a tough day or other personal stresses, and I was just the unfortunate person in the path of their venting. I chose to smile at the cashier and not let the situation impact me. This helped me stay calm and avoid taking it personally, while also helping the cashier feel more at ease despite the rude interaction. By reminding yourself that others' rudeness is not about you, you are able to protect your emotional state and maintain your peace. Rude people often project their own issues onto others, and it's important not to absorb that negative energy. When you don't take things personally, you free yourself from the weight of other people's behaviors and allow yourself to stay focused on what truly matters. You no longer give them the power to dictate your mood or emotional well-being. When you don't internalize rude behavior, it becomes easier to maintain a positive mindset. You recognize that the rude person is not in control of your emotional state. You are. This gives you the strength to keep going without letting negativity sidetrack your progress or peace. For instance, in the workplace, you might encounter colleagues who are quick to criticize or belittle others. By not taking their words to heart, you can continue focusing on your own tasks and goals without feeling demoralized or distracted by their opinions. In addition, by choosing not to take things personally, you are more likely to respond in a calm and constructive manner. Instead of retaliating or escalating the situation, you can approach it with empathy and understanding. Sometimes, simply acknowledging that the person may be having a tough day and responding kindly can diffuse the situation entirely. This also creates an environment where the rudeness is less likely to persist, as people often feel uncomfortable when their negativity isn't met with defensiveness or hostility. In the long run, adopting the perspective of not taking things personally helps build emotional resilience. It allows you to approach difficult situations with clarity, preventing reactive responses based on anger or frustration. Instead of spending energy on how someone else behaves, you focus on keeping your peace and continuing to move forward in a positive direction. Number 7, use humor to diffuse. Humor can be one of the most effective ways to handle rude people without getting bogged down by negativity. When used at the right moment, humor has the power to ease tension and diffuse a potentially uncomfortable situation. Instead of engaging in a war of words with a rude person, using humor allows you to take the sting out of their remarks while maintaining your composure. Imagine a scenario where someone's being rude to you, and instead of responding with frustration, you inject a little wit into the conversation. Humor lightens the mood, making it less likely for the situation to escalate. I remember once at a family gathering, someone made an unsolicited, rude remark about my outfit. Instead of feeling defensive or upset, I smiled and replied, "Well, I guess I'm starting a new trend." My playful response immediately eased the tension. The rude comment lost its power because my humor turned the focus away from the negativity. Instead of allowing the situation to affect my mood, I used it as an opportunity to shift the conversation to a lighter note. By laughing it off, I deflected the rudeness and kept the atmosphere friendly. What makes humor so powerful is that it catches people off guard. Rudeness often expects a reaction, especially a negative one. But when you respond with humor, it disrupts the cycle of aggression or criticism. A well-timed humorous remark demonstrates that you're unaffected by the rudeness and have control over your emotional state. This doesn't mean you're avoiding the issue. It means you're choosing to deal with it in a way that minimizes conflict and preserves your peace of mind. The key is knowing how to use humor that doesn't backfire. Sarcastic or mocking humor can make matters worse, so it's important to keep it light and inoffensive. The best kind of humor disarms a rude person without making them feel attacked. A funny, self-deprecating comment or a humorous observation can shift the tone of the conversation and leave the rude person without a response. It turns the situation into something they can't argue with, as humor tends to diffuse anger more effectively than confrontation. Using humor in response to rudeness is not just about avoiding conflict, it's also a sign of emotional intelligence. It shows that you are in control of your feelings and are capable of handling difficult situations with grace. When others see you manage rudeness with a smile and a witty remark, they may be inspired to take a similar approach in the future. It creates a sense of ease around you and sets a positive tone for all future interactions. Moreover, humor fosters an environment of positive communication. When you use humor to deflect rudeness, it opens the door to a more constructive dialogue. Instead of continuing the cycle of negativity, you set a precedent for a conversation that is based on understanding, laughter, and respect. This kind of approach helps not only to diffuse the situation, but also to keep relationships intact. People are more likely to respect you when they see that you approach conflicts with a calm demeanor and a sense of humor. In the end, humor serves as a reminder that not everything deserves a serious reaction. It allows you to stay lighthearted and not be dragged down by negativity, which is essential for maintaining your peace. With humor, you don't allow rudeness to steal your joy or disrupt your day. It simply becomes something to laugh off and move on from. Ask yourself, when was the last time you chose humor over anger or frustration? How did it change the way the situation unfolded? Using humor isn't just about getting out of awkward situations. It's a powerful tool for shaping how we react to the world. The next time someone is rude, ask yourself, can I lighten the moment? Can humor help me remain in control, preserve my peace, and diffuse the tension? It's in these moments that you truly discover the power of staying calm, lighthearted, and unaffected by the negativity around you. In conclusion, handling rude people doesn't have to be a stressful or draining experience. By embracing Stoic principles, you can transform these situations into opportunities for growth and self-mastery. Whether it's responding with silence, setting firm boundaries, or using kindness to disarm negativity, Stoicism offers powerful tools to maintain your inner peace and leave others speechless. Remember, it's not about changing the rude person's behavior, but about controlling how you react and staying true to your values. As you apply these Stoic strategies, you'll find that you not only rise above the negativity, but also become stronger and more composed in every interaction. Thank you for watching. If you found these Stoic tips helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content on personal growth and Stoic wisdom. Stay calm, stay strong, and always keep your peace. No one can take that from you. Until next time.